bluegrass fan. Woo! From the time I was a kid. My uncle used to take me when I was, 10 years old, 11 years old. He used to take me to bluegrass festivals all over the Southeast. We would go to as far north as Kentucky and Virginia, and we would go to Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina, and of course in Georgia, my home state. And I loved bluegrass music, still do. Had the opportunity at a very young age to perform with people like Bill Monroe and with Earl Scruggs and Marty Stewart and Ricky Skaggs and just some wonderful, wonderful bluegrass musicians. I grew up as a teenager in the 70s, okay? So that means that maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I happen to think that the rock music that I grew up with in my teenage years throughout the 70s was some of the best rock music that has ever been produced. And I think that's been reflective in the record sales. I'm talking about, great iconic albums like the Eagles' Hotel California, or Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, or Peter Frampton Comes Alive, or Boston, or Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic, just great albums, and the list goes on and on. Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Led Zeppelin, it just goes on and on. So I happen to think that the rock music that I was influenced by in the 70s was some of the greatest that's ever been, and I was very heavily influenced by that. My grandfather down in Georgia was, believe it or not, was a Pentecostal pastor. And so that probably explains any of my wild side, because I grew up in his church from the time I was just a little bitty boy. But still, the music that came from that, gospel music that I grew up on, still is one of my favorite types of music to listen to and to sing and to play. I love gospel. So if you take all those different styles of music and you mix them all together, that pretty much sums up my background, where I come from, with the exception of one genre of music that was just as important as any of those others. And that's the music that we call blues. Blues. I love blues, specifically Delta blues. People like Robert Johnson, and Muddy Waters, and the old stuff that came from that era. And then, of course, when I got a little bit older, it transferred from that to people like Buddy Guy and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan, people like that. And because blues music was such a big part of my life growing up, I had the opportunity in 2001, I met a guy from that world that probably had as much of an influence on what comes out of my mouth when I sing, as far as soul is concerned, as anybody on this planet. And the guy that I met that year was a guy by the name of Ray Charles. And a funny thing happened when Ray and I met. We became instantly really, really tight, close friends, because he was from Georgia, I was from Georgia. He grew up listening to a lot of the same influences that I did. He had a very strong influence from gospel, soul, rhythm and blues, but he also had a lot of influence from country music and from the Grand Ole Opry and bluegrass and that sort of thing. So we hit it off right off the bat. And as soon as we met, we decided that we were going to do a television special together for CMT called Crossroads. That's where they take an artist from country music and they pair them up with somebody from a different genre, be it rock or rhythm and blues or soul or rap or whatever it may be. And they put them together. And so we decided we were going to do this television show. And I'll never forget, we went to Nashville about 2 days prior to taping this television show. And the day before we were getting ready to tape, we were in the dressing room together, and we were talking about what songs we were going to do together on this show. And Ray says to me, he says, he said, Travis, he said, do you do blues? I said, yes, sir. He said, you goddamn right you do. And he went on to say something that stuck with me. He said, you know, if you can play blues, you can play anything. He said, but in order to play blues and play it right, he said, you got to feel it. Because blues is more than just singing. Blues is an emotion. And you got to go through it. You got to live through it to be able to project that correctly. And the more I thought about that over the years, even after he passed away, the more I realized he was exactly right. So, because that music was so much a part of me, and always has been, is it okay if I do a little blues for you now? Lord, and round we go. Don't ask me why I stay here, honey. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too full to care, Lord. Without your sweet love, I know I would be nowhere. Here I stay, locked in your world, until that day, baby, when Travis might find me somewhere. I don't know windshield. Woman, you got down, come and go blues. Pretty lady, I swear you do. Woman, you got down, come and go blues. I swear you do.